I, female 23, have been planning a family vacation with my older brother, 30, and his wife, my two nieces, toddlers, and my parents. Everyone is paying for their tickets. The vacation is booked for February. We hadn't discussed room arrangements before, but I knew the suite we'd be staying in would have 3 bedrooms. So we discussed room arrangements yesterday, and my brother and parents just assumed that I wouldn't mind sharing a room with my nieces, while my brother, his wife, and my parents get their own rooms. I said I didn't want to share a room with them, and that they should be sleeping in my brother and sister-in-law's room, since they're their parents. My parents called me dramatic and said that it's not a big deal, and said that my nieces wouldn't give me any trouble. I told them I didn't care. They said I was being a bad aunt and told me to grow up. I told them that if I didn't get my own room, I'd cancel my ticket, which would result in everyone else having to pay more or find someone else to go in my place, because we got a group discount with the resort. My brother said that I was a whiny idiot and accused me of being a narcissist. Not the idiot. And can you tell those kids' parents that they're bad parents and grow up? I get that they probably want to have intimacy while on vacation, but geez, they made a choice to have kids. They made a choice to bring them along. So why do the consequences of all those choices fall on you? You've made the threat and they've called your bluff, basically. This isn't a trip you'll want to go on, right? If she's a bad aunt, then they're bad parents. Bro wanted free childcare, and if your parents have a problem with you declining, their door's wide open. They can share their room with their granddaughters. You're paying your way and should have complete control over your room on vacation. But don't be surprised if they tell you okay, just to keep you from canceling, and then blindside you once you're on vacation. Such small kids do not go to bed easily and don't stay asleep all night, so you'll likely be dealing with them during the night. And they go to bed early, so you'll be creeping around trying to be quiet in your own space when you get ready for bed. The kids need to stay with their parents or you cancel. Easy peasy. It doesn't make you a bad aunt not wanting to room with them. Agree. OP, your nieces are too young. They should sleep in the room with their parents because of their age. If they were teens, I could understand giving them their own room. I think your brother and sister-in-law just want a free babysitter. I hate when people with kids want to go on vacation, bring their kids, and dump them on someone else. This is your vacation, and you don't have kids. Yep, if I was going on vacation and wanted a sitter, I'd bring a babysitter, pay for their accommodations, and work that out beforehand. OP, it's your vacation too. I'd cancel and go somewhere else alone. No offense to toddlers, but you weren't the one who spawned them, so you shouldn't be the one that has to walk around on eggshells when they're asleep. And if there's no other option, you should be compensated for it at the very least. My husband is disabled, so we got him a service dog 4 months ago to help him daily. My brother and his family lost their home and asked to move in with us for a few weeks till they found another place to stay. My niece teen started complaining about the service dog, making her uncomfortable. It's strange, she has no allergies, nothing, but she's just uncomfortable. So she told my brother and he asked if I could move the dog. I said no. This dog is literally as helpful as a human being when it comes to people with disabilities, and he's incredibly smart. More importantly, he minds his own business and never bothers my niece, but she's just uncomfortable with him for some reason. My brother and his wife started begging, saying it was temporary, but I refused. They said that my husband doesn't need the dog much since he's home most of the time, yet I still refused. They tried talking to my husband directly, but I shut that down immediately. My brother's wife started an argument with me right after my brother went to work, and she started yelling about how I value a dog over my niece and her comfort. I said it wasn't just the dog, but it was my husband who needed him. My brother came home and we kept arguing. Finally, he said that I was being unsupportive and cruel to my niece, who's already been through enough. My husband got involved and asked me to take him to his father's house with the dog, but I said no, not after what his dad said to me, and that he and the dog are staying. My brother and his wife are in the guest room, sulking hard, while my niece ignores me. Meanwhile, my husband is sitting in the kitchen now, trying to convince me to let him go stay with his dad to keep the peace with my brother. This man, my husband, is like this all the time, always willing to do what others want just to keep the peace. You can literally cuss him out, and he'll apologize to you like it was his fault. But he thinks he owes people for accepting him as a disabled man, which is sad. And it's true, he's home most of the time, but he still needs his service dog throughout the day. Am I the idiot for refusing to move the dog temporarily? My niece is upset with me. Edit. The reason I refused to let my husband go stay with his dad is because of what he said to him the last time he was there. He basically called him useless and a failure. He also told him he was good for nothing because we couldn't get pregnant. But that's an infertility issue we've been dealing with for years. It's too late now to have kids, me 34, him 37, but we still don't appreciate these types of comments from his dad of all people. Not the idiot. You're a good partner, and don't let your husband go stay with his father. Tell your brother and sister-in-law that if their family's uncomfortable with the dog, a medicinal necessity for your disabled husband, they should find other living accommodations. Beggars can't be choosers, so keep advocating for your husband. Also, you're not too old to have kids. 34 is not old at all. I'm concerned that the princess niece or her parents will harm the dog somehow. For your husband, it is a need. For your niece, it's a want. Need triumphs over want. Your brother and his family are being ungrateful for your allowing them to live there while they find other accommodations. Perhaps they should now try harder to get out and make their daughter less uncomfortable. Don't temporarily move your dog. Permanently move your brother and his family. They can find somewhere their daughter will feel comfortable. Protect your husband and his precious pup. I'm a teen male, having my birthday in less than a month, and my parents had talked about throwing me a party with my friends and family there to celebrate. So I let myself get excited about it, which I'm starting to feel was dumb. See, I have a little sister, Ava, and she's pre-tween. She was a baby my parents tried to have for a few years after I was born, but struggled, and then she was born prematurely. It meant my parents had to put a lot of time into her when she was little. It meant a lot of the time, our world revolved around her. Back then, I would hear people say that things would return to normal once she was a little older. They never really did. My parents prioritized Ava over me. I know she's a lot younger, and it makes sense at times. Here are some examples of it, but not all. 2 years ago for Christmas, I really wanted a PS5. I made a deal with my parents that if I saved up X amount of money, they would pay the rest for it as a gift. A drop came close by us, and I had the money. Mom told me that Ava needed a haircut, and they wanted to pamper her a little because she'd been to the developmental pediatrician, which she hated. So the money that would have gone to the PS5 went to her, and I never got the PS5. Instead, I got some clothes and food stuff for Christmas, and the food was share items we got, not even my favorites. My high school held an award ceremony in May to celebrate students who helped improve the school. I was given one for helping others in school and acting as a mentor. Unfortunately, Ava's school play was on the same day, and my parents chose to go to the school play instead of the award ceremony. They didn't even remember to ask me about it when I got home. My birthdays have always been more aimed at something Eva will enjoy too. We do Chuck E. Cheese where I can bring a friend, or they hire a bounce house for the family to come over, but always a smaller one, which means I don't get to enjoy it because of younger kids and a small bounce house. The spotlight always goes to her at least once. She's blown out my birthday candles since she was 2. This year, I really thought it would be different. All the plans sounded really fun too. Then my parents found out Ava was being bullied in school and was having a rough time. They told me she wasn't looking forward to anything, including my party, and that they thought it would be nice to do something she could enjoy and give her some of the spotlight on that day, at which time we assure her she's loved and wanted. I told them it was my birthday, and I thought they wanted me to enjoy it. They told me that they do, but Ava needed this and Ava needs that, and as her big brother, I should be thinking about how to make her feel special. I told them I deserved to feel that way too. Then I told them if they were going to do this to me again, then I was done. I told them not everything needs to be about Ava. She might be their whole world, their entire focus in life, but she's not mine. My parents got so mad at me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. They have 2 kids, not 1, and you deserve attention sometimes. Instead, they're raising you to resent your sister. I hope you have a supportive friend group who knows about this and can cheer you up. Unfortunately, you are the black sheep, and Ava's the golden child. But at least you only have to endure 2 more years of this BS until you go to college. This story is heartbreaking. They're not doing any favors to either of their kids. OP's gonna go no contact when he gets old enough, and his parents are gonna wonder why. Also, she's probably getting bullied because she makes a fuss at school when she doesn't get her way. OMG, it's your birthday. There are 365 other days in a year to do something special for Ava. Hun, you do deserve a day to be about you. It is absolutely not okay what your parents are doing. They suck and you deserve better. You got that award because you're sending good out into the world, and one day you will be surrounded by people who value you. Before I found out I was pregnant, my marriage was really bad, and we were essentially separated. Some of my husband's family were upset when we decided to work on things because they felt like I was ungrateful and that I had humiliated my husband and their family, so he should have left me. My brother-in-law's wife was probably the most vocal and nasty about it, but she never said a mean thing around my husband. I ended up recording her telling me that my husband only tolerated me now because I was pregnant, and that he would throw me out as soon as the baby wasn't inside me anymore. I told her if she didn't leave me alone, I would show my husband, which made her stop. That was over a year ago, and she recently asked me if I still had the recording and asked me to delete it when I told her I did. I refused, even though she's been nice to me recently, and now she and her husband are angry at me because I won't delete it, and it would cause big problems if my husband saw it, especially now. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot for keeping it hidden from your husband, like the world's crappiest surprise present. Either tell him about it or delete it. Don't sit there hoarding blackmail against this family and expect him to one day thank you for it. I'm curious why this is the approach when it would almost certainly create massive drama. Why not just lie and say she deleted it? If sister-in-law behaves, then no issue. If sister-in-law feels like nothing's holding her back and starts being an idiot again, show him. Lying to keep the peace is a valuable resource. Right. Who keeps compromat on their family? Everyone's the idiot here. Your sister-in-law sucks for what she said, and you suck for essentially blackmailing her and keeping this info from your husband. OP, they're being nice to you because you still have it. Show it to your husband now before she has a chance to spin it. If it comes out later you've been holding blackmail material, that'll be a bad look on you. Not the idiot. Sounds like you found the magic formula to stop her nastiness. Naturally, she wants that to go away. I bet if you did delete the recording, her behavior would deteriorate. My late mother liked to leave poisonous voice messages. After one especially bonkers message, I told her that maybe I should play it for her doctor in case she's had a stroke. She got real quiet and said, "What do you mean, play it?" Yeah, she hadn't thought about leaving evidence of her abuse, which she always saved for when we were alone. So keep it. It ensures your sister-in-law's behavior, it seems, and appropriately so, since she doesn't seem to have a nice comment for you otherwise. But what's your end goal here? Are you trying to or have succeeded in bettering your relationship with your husband and his family? Are you waiting for the next time she upsets you to reveal the video then? Why would you allow your in-laws to abuse you and never tell your husband verbally? Tell him. Stop saving this just in case. You clearly aren't going to use it, and she'll realize that one day and go back to treating you horribly. Why play nice with people who don't like you? Why do this to yourself? If you want your marriage to work, you need honesty. So this drama revolves around my brother's fiance, Sarah. Sarah is dramatic and gossipy. It always has to be something with her. She's always talking about someone else in a negative light behind their backs, and I cannot stand it, to tell you the truth. However, I put it aside because she's my future sister-in-law, and I just want to keep the peace. My sisters and I always have a girls' night out once a month. When my other brother married his wife, Angie, we started to invite her out with us as well because we all liked her. When Sarah learned about these nights, She asked to join us when she was engaged, and we agreed even though most of us don't like her. Unfortunately, Sarah has never liked Angie, which has made the nights harder to deal with because Sarah will just ignore her. Angie's an angel and puts up with it though. Last week, Angie was sick and missed the night. Sarah took it as an opportunity to trash talk her all night. Angie does not have a college degree and only has her GED, and Sarah would not shut up about how much of a moron she was all night. Sarah has her master's in biology, and intelligence is one of her favorite things to insult people about. After I had a bit to drink, I had enough of it. Angie's one of the sweetest people I've ever met, and has never once said a bad thing about Sarah. After Sarah finished one of her insults about Angie being the farthest from traditionally intelligent, I said, "Is the reason you're insulting Angie here like a coward is because she's traditionally beautiful and you're the furthest from that?" Sarah's about 300 pounds and by all regards, quite ugly. This is a massive trigger point for her. I know she has emotional issues surrounding her weight. We got into a fight and I ended up tearing her appearance apart, point by point, until she was visibly near tears. In the end, I told her that I was doing exactly what she does when she gossips about people. I only talked about her like she talks about others, just to her face, unlike her. This ruined the night and we all went home separately. Well, now it's all broken loose. Sarah's demanding an apology, and I will not give it to her. My sisters agree that what I said was in line with what Sarah says about others, but disagree with me and say that I should not have lowered myself to her level. Last night I got a call from my brother, and now Sarah's threatening to postpone their marriage if I don't apologize, which in my opinion says more about her than anything I could have said. But I actually feel bad now that I've had the time to think about it. Don't apologize. She got what she deserved. However, you guys should have called her out immediately after she started trashing Angie. Tell your brother you will not apologize for treating her like she treats others. It would be best if you also told her that you guys didn't want to hang out with her when she first asked. It's everyone's the idiot here situation. I agree. You should have stepped up when she started talking crap about Angie, rather than sitting there and stewing. And you also need to be an adult and say that you don't want to spend time with her. The only reason this conflict emerged is that you don't communicate like adults. Not the idiot. She trashed your friend and you stuck up for her. Sarah sounds extremely emotionally immature to demand that, and also to threaten to postpone the wedding. Your brother is in for a nightmare marriage if she'd do that just to be spiteful. It's controlling and narcissistic. If he hasn't got kids with this woman, I would urge you to get your brother to see her for what she is and not marry her. Let her postpone the wedding and give her time to show her true colors some more. I think it's a bonus if she wants to break off the wedding. Reminds everyone that it's her choice. She must be two-faced because I can't imagine what OP's brother sees in her. On the other hand, you did let her have a taste of her own medicine by repeating what she says about others. It sucks to suck. And honestly, it's not like having a master's degree necessarily makes you all that smart. Yeesh. I, female 27, have been married to my wonderful husband, 30, for 5 years, but we've been together for 7 years. In all that time, my parents, female 58 and male 60, have never really taken a shine to him, but everyone has always been amicable. That is, everyone except my sister, 22, who seems to think that the world revolves around her. She is the light of my parents' lives and can do absolutely no wrong in their eyes. So simply put, my husband and I generally keep our distance from her. Last weekend was my dad's 60th birthday, and everyone was invited. My husband and I went knowing my sister would be there, but we didn't think much of it. Instead, we expected a pleasant evening celebrating my dad. It is important to note, before we go further, that my husband follows certain dietary restrictions as part of his religion, which I'm keeping vague. Still, everyone in the family knows and has been accommodating thus far. Unfortunately, after everyone had eaten dinner, my sister announced that she had specifically asked the caterers to add in some of the restricted foods so that she could test if my husband would even know the difference. To say the least, I was furious. Just for clarification purposes, the restricted ingredients were added into sauces, and there were no noticeable pieces. My husband and I were both absolutely appalled and just walked out, while my sister yelled that she didn't get the big deal and that we needed to take the sticks out of our butts. My parents had absolutely nothing to say and just watched. They later texted me that I should consider that my sister was young and didn't know better. I did not respond. I guess that leads me to the title. I've absolutely gone no contact with everyone since the party and have not responded to a single message or phone call, nor has my husband. When my parents showed up at the house, we didn't open the door. I didn't go to reception when they showed up at work. I've not laid eyes on them at all. Today, some cops knocked on the door, saying they had received a missing persons report and were looking for me. Fortunately, that was all solved quite quickly, in that I never actually went missing. But now my friends are saying I wasted police resources when I could have just texted my parents back, saying that I didn't want to hear from them. I just feel like a grown woman shouldn't have to justify where she is to her parents. Not the idiot. You didn't waste police resources. Your parents did by filing a bogus report that you were missing. Of course, they knew you were upset with them and refused their contact attempts. You might allow an open channel if you think they plan to apologize, but not if they're just going to make excuses again for your sister's awful behavior. And OP, your sister's 22. She did this deliberately. It wasn't by mistake, like, I'm so sorry, I never realized that Worcestershire sauce has anchovies in it, or that soy sauce is not always gluten-free. She had to ask the caterers to add this to the sauce in a way that wasn't easily discernible. There's just no other excuse for this. I would honestly never want to speak to them unless they started holding Golden Kid accountable. What a horrid thing to do. Yes, having a golden child and calling the police to report someone missing are classic tactics of narcissistic parents. They call the police to try and pressure you into getting back in contact with them, and also because it makes them look super caring to outsiders. They're trying to manipulate you into resuming contact without acknowledging what they've done wrong. Agreed. Filing a missing persons report was a power play. Parents knew she wasn't missing. They were just mad that she wasn't answering them. They know she's gone no contact for what the golden child did. They were just trying to provoke OP to respond. She refused to come down to reception at work. The job obviously wouldn't have said she was missing or anything that would make a report valid. My neighbor moved in above me about a month ago. Before she moved in, the complex renovated her unit, so she has all hardwood floors except in the bedroom. Unrenovated units like mine are all carpeted. Everything has been fine so far, except that she vacuums her floor at some point every week. Now, obviously, I understand her vacuuming the carpeted areas or her rugs, but she vacuums the hard floors too. It can go on for about a half an hour. The issue is that I work from home, and she vacuums in the middle of the day when I'm in meetings. It's very hard for me to concentrate on my meetings when this happens. I finally went up, knocked on her door, and explained the situation to her. She was very apologetic and asked when was a better time for her to vacuum so that she doesn't disturb me. Asked why she needed to vacuum her hard floors instead of just sweeping or Swiffering. She said that she has a cat, so she actually vacuums and Swiffers. That's the only way she can ensure she gets all the hair up. I told her that she should consider switching to sweeping and Swiffering instead of vacuuming. She said that wasn't possible, but said that she would make every attempt to vacuum during non-work hours. I asked that she also make sure not to do it too late in the day, and she just closed the door, which made me think maybe I was an idiot, but I have to be able to do my job. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. She has every right to vacuum whenever she wants, and she was kind and accommodating in asking what time would work for you. Buy some noise-canceling headphones for your meetings and stop imposing on others. All of this, demanding that your neighbor doesn't vacuum during the day? Wow, the entitlement. Your neighbor was prepared to make a very reasonable compromise by vacuuming at a time that was convenient for you. You have no right to dictate how another person cleans their apartment. Sorry. Lots of people vacuum hard floors. She said she wouldn't do it while you were working, And you also said, "Not too late too." Sheesh, get a grip. I thought the neighbor was vacuuming every day in the middle of the night or something, but once a week, 30 minutes is entirely reasonable. Come on, dude, once a week, 30 minutes? Suppose you can't concentrate for 30 minutes. That's a you problem. At this point, my petty self would vacuum my floors for an hour every workday. My wife and I have 8 kids between us. This story is mostly about our young teen, Gina. Gina came to me recently and said that she wants to be vegan. I told her I'd pay for groceries, but she'll have to plan and cook her meals. She can't live off of frozen foods or takeout, and her mom and I will make sure that her meals are healthy before taking her grocery shopping. She was not thrilled. She asked if we could make small changes to our diet to accommodate her, like switching to vegan pasta and cooking the meatballs separately, but we said no, because we aren't going to change our food and eating habits because she wants to be vegan. She said okay and went to her room. Then she started sending me and my wife links to expensive pots and pan sets. One was $800, plates, cups, and bowls for $200, and her own utensils. I asked why she was sending it to me, and she said she needed new pots, pans, plates, etc. because ours were contaminated. I told her ours were perfectly fine, and if she wanted her own, she could buy them with her allowance and start babysitting. Later that day, I got a call from one of my sons saying that Gina was telling him and my other kids that they have to get all of their snacks out of the fridge in the game room. The game room has a kitchenette because she needs it for her vegan food. When I called and asked her what she was doing, she said her vegan food couldn't be in the same fridge as our food, and it's not fair to make her go all the way to the garage when she's hungry, and so she thought taking over the game room kitchenette would be a good compromise. I told Gina I was done with the vegan BS and that she couldn't be vegan while living in my house. She threw a temper tantrum because she thought I was being cruel, and she's barely spoken to me since then. So I wanted to know if I was the idiot. Edit. She thinks it's the same as us not allowing seafood in the house. One kid is deathly allergic, or making our oldest special meals. They have an autoimmune disease. Gina can eat whatever the heck she wants after all that, and we don't mind cooking and ordering it for her. Not the idiot, but this issue is a lot more complicated. It's not about being vegan. I have a daughter, and at this age, kids feel like they have zero control over their lives. They're desperately trying to find a way that they can assert control. But let's also call a spade a spade. Young teen girls are emotional roller coasters. Yeah, but 8 kids are a lot. With half that number, kids can feel lost in the shuffle, so I can only imagine 8. OP also mentions that they have one kid with a shellfish allergy, so there's no shellfish in the house, and another kid with severe medical issues whose diet is monitored, and the family eats food that's okay for that kid. I wonder if this whole vegan thing is an attempt to get attention and consideration that she feels she's not getting. I really do see this veganism as a call for help, a call for attention. The insistence on expensive pots and pans is a plea for the parents to show her that they're willing to spend money on her. Demanding refrigerator space could easily be a way of stalking out space in the home that's hers alone. I bet anything there's a part of this kid that just really wants her parents to acknowledge her. Just the way that OP handled the initial request, throwing everything back on the girl, she had to do this, that, and the next thing, or the privilege of being vegan would be taken away. No help or involvement from the parents, except to judge her. Sorry, but you are the idiot. My sister, 31, Stephanie, was our parents' golden child, while I, 28 female, and my other sister, 33, Emily, were always an afterthought. Our parents would tell Emily it was okay for Stephanie to insult and steal her things because, quote, she's your baby sister. They would allow Stephanie to do the same to me because your big sister knows better than you and you need to listen to and respect her. Stephanie was the center of attention at any event. She would get more gifts than us on our birthdays and would always get to select the theme and who was invited. This has continued even as Stephanie is now an adult. For example, Stephanie not only chose a place I hated for my graduation dinner, but she also chose to announce her pregnancy at the same dinner, and my parents knew about it. They scolded me for being upset because a diploma's a piece of paper. This is a new life. They said it was important that everyone was there for the news of the family's first grandchild. I realized that they would never value me compared to Stephanie. Since then, I have not spoken to Stephanie or my parents beyond emergencies concerning other family members, and neither has Emily. We've communicated slightly more since my mother passed away, but it's still minimal. I'm getting married, and my father's reached out to me about the plans for him and Stephanie to arrive early, since he assumed he would walk me down the aisle. At the same time, Stephanie would be an honorary lead bridesmaid of sorts. Emily's already my maid of honor. I explained to my father that Matt, my best friend since college, would be walking me down the aisle. My father started commenting on how this was ridiculous and disrespectful because the man who raised me and gave me life should matter more to me than some college buddy. He then demanded to know about Stephanie's spot as a bridesmaid. I told him that Stephanie was not invited to the wedding because I knew if Stephanie attended, she would always be the center of attention. I want a day about me and my accomplishments and milestones instead of it being all about Stephanie. I don't care how bratty it sounds. He kept arguing. I got fed up and told him he could go walk the daughter he cared about down the aisle and hung up. Now multiple people, mostly extended family, are calling me an idiot on various points. They're saying how my mother became extremely ill during her pregnancy with Stephanie. The doctors weren't optimistic about their survival, and I could never truly understand what that would be like to live in constant fear of losing your child. Many are saying that I'm wrong to ban Stephanie from the wedding because, in a way, she's also a victim of our parents' favoritism. They point out that Stephanie isn't having the easiest time in life right now, and she could use some sisterly support and involvement. I disagree with these points, but am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Stephanie can speak to a professional about the tough time that she's having. However, it's not on you to hold your breath for the entirety of your wedding day. As for Dad, yeah, you don't get to play favorites and assume you're the apple of all your children's eyes. Ignore the extended family and their BS reasons. They weren't living your life for even an hour, so away with them. Away with them sounds Shakespearean. Love it. And this was exactly my thought. If Stephanie was a victim of this behavior, so was OP. So unless and until Stephanie can show she's realized her behavior was hurtful to others and she can be in an event without ruining it for others, she's unwelcome. Because you know who else was a victim of the parents' favoritism? OP. It sounds like it's about time Stephanie was put in her place, and the same goes for your father. Enjoy your wedding without them. For once in your life, this day is about you, and you don't want people around you who'll bring you down or gossip behind your back. So I hope you have a fantastic day and make some great memories with your sister, Emily, who cares about you. I, female 33, am a mother of 2. Last week, my sister, 37, asked me if I could babysit her son, Ben, tween, over the weekend, as she and her husband needed to attend her friend's child-free wedding. Her original plan was for Ben to stay with our parents, but they bailed on her. I talked to my husband and we agreed. Our kids like spending time with their older cousin, which could be a nice little bonding experience. Ben would stay with us from Saturday morning, and my sister agreed to pick him up on Sunday afternoon. I know Ben is a picky eater, and my sister had told me before that he was diagnosed with ADHD. I didn't know how extreme his picky eating was until I babysit him that weekend. When dinner time rolled around on Saturday, I told Ben that we were having spaghetti for dinner. Ben started getting agitated and said that he didn't like spaghetti. I asked him if he's tried spaghetti, and he said he had, that he didn't like it. While cooking, I tried to persuade Ben to try some plain spaghetti or some of the sauce separately because I thought that would help, but he outright refused and started raising his voice. Admittedly, I've never had a big issue with picky eating in either of my children, and my kids are both neurotypical, so I'm not very experienced in that department. However, Ben started demanding that I make chicken nuggets for dinner, which riled up my kids, who started saying they also wanted chicken nuggets. I firmly told Ben that spaghetti is what's on the menu for dinner and that I'm not making a separate dinner for him. Plus, we don't even have chicken nuggets. Ben started screaming at me and ran off to shut himself in the bathroom. My husband tried to talk to Ben and get him to come out of the bathroom. He reluctantly came out after around 20 minutes. Ben was still adamant that he wouldn't try the spaghetti or the sauce. I told Ben he could help himself to what we have in the kitchen and make himself a sandwich or toast. So Ben made himself some sandwiches with deli slices and cheese, and that was his dinner. When my sister collected Ben the next day, I told her what had happened privately. My sister was really mad and said that I handled it really poorly. She said Ben's safe foods for dinner are chicken nuggets, plain ramen noodles, and mashed potatoes, and said that he wouldn't eat anything else for dinner. I told my sister that she didn't tell me that. She said he's old enough to speak for himself, and I should have just made Ben the separate dinner he asked for, and said that depriving him of safe foods is cruel, and that I didn't feed him properly. Not the idiot. Your sister should have sent him over with his own dinner, or given you a heads up so that you could do your meal prep accordingly. Pretty rude of her to chastise you for her lack of communication. My kid is autistic and has a ton of food-related issues. He can be extremely picky. So my husband and I do this for his meals when he's not with us. Provide a list or the food itself. If he eats, great. If he doesn't, oh well, not a surprise. I'll make him something when we get home. You are the idiot because, in the end, you really did make a neurodivergent child cook for himself instead of just listening to him and his needs. You're a parent. Wouldn't you ask the other parent if the child has any food preferences or allergies? I get your sister didn't tell you his food requirements, but you knew your nephew was a picky eater already. Yet you still tried to push him to eat something he clearly said he didn't want, to the point where he locked himself in the bathroom. You did handle it poorly. It was your sister's responsibility to tell you about his safe foods to begin with. Just because he's old enough to speak for himself doesn't relieve her of that obligation. On top of that, she should have given you the heads up earlier so that you could plan these meals and chip in for his food. She's an irresponsible mother.